Boa tarde, gente. Eu sou Alexandre Soncini, um dos cofundadores da VTEX. Essa apresentação aqui vai ser em inglês. Quem precisar dos tradutores simultâneos, eu acho que tem um espaço aqui atrás para pegar, tá? Para retirar. So let me switch to English and introduce Ravi Bagal. So Ravi is the worldwide retail and CPG industry team leader at AWS. Thank you, Ravi, for coming. If you want to introduce yourself quickly.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So as Alex mentioned, I lead retail and CPG for Amazon Web Services. Brazil is one of the most important locations for us, so we're always delighted to be here. And our partnership with VTEX is a big part of our strategy.
So thank you, Ravi. Thank you again for being here. And I think today we want to talk about innovation in retail and leverage your experience and AWS experience on that topic. And we were talking beforehand, and I think there are three main topics that we want to explore. So one is composability, is how retailers are using technology to reduce cost and offer a better experience and be more efficient. AI, we cannot not talk about AI nowadays, and data, because it's something that it's always related to that. So starting to talk about composability, I feel that we had three waves before arriving to the fourth one, the composable commerce one, or the composable software. We had the on-premises, so everybody at the beginning, they wanted to have their own installation, etc. Software as a service came to give more power to business, but also having some IT influence. Then the headless solution, the best of breed, that we could eventually select 15, 20 of the best vendors in the market to compose our solution. And in the theory, in the paper, it was amazing, having the best search, the best recommendation, the best catalog, and everything else. But then when you start to implement, it becomes very complex because you need to connect all those parties besides cost.
Right.
It's not cost efficient. So I think composable came to bring the best of software as a service and headless and help retailers to be more efficient. So I want you to understand a little bit more what's your point of view about it, how do you see composable in the market, and how retailers are leveraging that at AWS.
Right. So first of all, I think that's a tremendous history about the evolution of retail systems. And one thing I want to sort of call out is how fast the change at the end of your story is happening. For the first parts of retail systems evolution, it was kind of the same old, same old. I mean, the period between the time I had hair to the time I lost hair, during that entire time, retail systems were pretty much the same, right? That on-premises, legacy, monolithic, old school, spanned for generations until many people thought there was no alternative. And you're right, as we evolved past SaaS to headless, we're starting to get excited by the choice of composability. The fact that we can do things that may not be inside the box of an ERP, things that allow us to customize our solutions to our own brand. But then, to your point, are we trading one problem for another? Earlier, the problem was, it's very hard for me to do the things I want to do inside the box of a monolith. But now with composable services, are we creating so much complexity and cost in organizing these services that we're just spending a lot of money on integration and design and implementation, and it's just a different kind of problem. I think VTEX and AWS see a similar point of view, that we need to bring some order to the madness, some basic tools that will allow us to compose, but not have to create everything from scratch. Maybe have some basic solutions, some key solutions that work, but then if you want to do some customization, only do that part. That way you're not trying to boil the ocean and change everything at once. Our experience is that when you think about composability as choice, you really want to focus on the pieces that you want to choose and not make the entire system about choice.
I think that's a great segue, because I think each business has different priorities, right? So for most of the retailers, let's use the example of search. For most of the retailers, search is commodity. It's going to be the same. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can just use the good enough search engine that is available instead of trying to get the best search in the market. For some other retailers, search might be very important and priority. So in that case, then you can compose your technology stack with a best of breed search solution. Or eventually you can build your own IP.
Yes.
You can say, I want to have my own search. We have a customer that it's working with us together in the US, that it's Hearst.
Right.
They have many different magazines, Men's Health, Women's Health, Elle, Cosmopolitan. And because of this, their business that is focused on content and editorial, they need to have an amazing search that will mix commerce and content all together, and will come from the content, the magazine's websites, to the commerce websites in a seamless way. So for them, search is not commodity, for example. So I like to mention some of those cases and exemplify what it would be, because as you said, on one hand, as more solutions you have, as more complicated is the project, as more time is going to take. And today, I don't think we have, nowadays, we cannot spend more like 12, 18 months in an e-commerce project as eventually we did in the past, because the market evolves so fast that this would be like, you are going to go live with something that's going to be outdated.
Yeah.
Right.
That example of our mutual customer, Hearst, is an amazing example because it illustrates that the choice is your choice. You don't have to pick what's right for somebody else. For a company like a media company, their entire product is the outcome of the search. It's the words in those journals. So it's very central. Search is right at the heart of what they do. Some other company may not need search to do much more than just raise the product and make it clear and available. But there's another kind of choice there too, which is build or buy. In some cases, if you have very unique requirements you may want to build, you may want to, on the other hand, look for a best-of-breed partner. Algolia, which is a mutual partner of ours here on the floor today, best search you're going to find, unbelievably powerful. If that's what you need, you can plug that in. And so composability is about that. Finding the right level of functionality versus cost and getting it right for you and not compromising because some monolithic systems vendor decided for you. You know, but you could go the other direction too. As I said, Alex, you know, Janis Joplin once said, freedom's just another way to say nothing left to lose. You know, too much choice can sometimes be no choice at all. So the intelligent strategy is think about what is really differentiating for you, what's mission critical for you, invest there, put your energy on the things that can really make a difference to your business. And that's where composability can help you manage your investment to focus on the things that are most important.
No, that's great. I remember a sentence that simplicity is the most complex thing to achieve.
Right.
So we need to always be looking at simplicity, and we are talking about innovation here.
Right.
Like, what does it connect? How does it connect with composability and eventually simplicity? I think everything is, how can we leverage the technologies, be always in the forefront of what's coming to offer the best customer experience, because the customer is willing to use that. Like they're willing to have live shopping or AI-empowered like catalog, enrichment tools, etc. So there are many things that can be done all together. And composability is part of your innovation strategy. If you don't build the right foundation in your stack, you'll never be able to innovate, because you'll never be able to try new things. And I think composability is also something very important for you to help you to try new things with almost no capex and very low opex. So how can you do that?
Yeah, I think that the connection between composability and innovation is very important to think about. So we have this equation. In fact, last year I mentioned it. At Amazon, we like to say that innovation equals experimentation, and experimentation equals failure. Because if there's no chance of failure, it's not really an experiment. But the cost of failure with traditional systems implementation is so high. If you try something and it doesn't work, well, you've just bet your company on that investment. On the other hand, with modern architecture, loosely coupled services, you can try and experiment, and if there's a better choice, or maybe there's new innovation that you'd like to consume from a new place, the cost and overhead of change is much less. And so innovation requires us not to have handcuffs, but instead to embrace the possibility of change, and that's a big part of the value of a modern architecture.
No, I like the experimentation and failure concept. I learned from my 10-year-old daughter that fail is first attempt in learning. You know, so again, that's it. Like you need to experiment. As of today, you need to experiment a lot of different things to understand what fits the best for your business and for your customer. And everything that it's failing, just put it aside, test new stuff, and composability is gonna give you this power of experimenting whatever you want.
Yeah, it's the difference between fail fast or fail forever, right? With the composability and modern architecture, you can experiment and grow. But with the old handcuffs of legacy systems, failure meant incredible impacts to your business. Beyond that, too, you know, the world is changing. Think about, you know, what people call omni-channel or multi-channel. We like to call unified commerce. Too often, we're picking solutions that are only thinking of one channel or another. With composable services, you can actually pick services that are fit for purpose for your channel, but act against the same source of data. One source of truth for customer data, inventory data, etc. But then have different services, small, lightweight services to power web experiences versus mobile experiences versus store experiences. And so, it's important to remember that data is the foundation of this. That, you know, it's garbage in, garbage out if you don't get that part right. But once you have the data foundation in place, you want to maximize the value of that by creating the choice of modern architecture and using microservices in a composed way and not falling back into the old bad habits of legacy monoliths.
Great, and again, you brought the topic of data, and I think data is important for any company that it's willing to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
So for analytics purposes or business intelligence, as always to empower AI. Yeah. So artificial intelligence depends on data to train the models, but also processing power, right? Compute power as well. Yeah. So we have been seeing that AI is coming as a new trend, and AI exists forever.
Forever.
Right? When I did engineering 20 plus years ago, and I had classes of AI. What changed from 20 years ago to today is the compute power, the processing power that we see, and that's why NVIDIA of the words, they are winning a lot with AI. But at a certain point of time, data is eventually going to become a bottleneck. So it's a mix, it's a balance of compute power and also data that will enable retailers to use AI in a proper way, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's spot on. I mean, if you really think about this, we've understood the possibility of artificial intelligence, of neural networks, of machine learning, and even of generative AI for generations. You and I were talking earlier. My father was a longtime retail systems thinker. He did his PhD about neural networks for point-of-sale systems 50 years ago. So we've been talking about the possibility for a long, long time. I mean, he had hair 50 years ago when he was talking about it. But to your point, Alex, now we have the power of the cloud. The cost of computing has become utility. It's fallen down. So it's almost like a non-factor to bring massive computing to these ideas around artificial intelligence. And this trend will continue. You know, Alex, if you've done the math on generative AI and have started doing proofs of concepts or trials with it, and by the way, I encourage everyone to sort of get started on playing with it because it's a very important technology. Right now, because we're mostly in an experimentation mode, the cost is not that high. But as we move into production, if you do the math, it can get really expensive. And so at Amazon, one of the things that we're very focused on is thinking about how can we drive the cost of computing even further down so we can fully embrace the power of generative AI. I mean, we're actually investing in silicon. We're building new chips specifically designed for training and for inference so that we can continue to do, as you say, drive the cost of this down so it becomes the same kind of commodity that we think of cloud, computing, and storage. In the future, you should be able to access artificial intelligence with the same sort of utility, low cost, high performance kind of expectation.
And I think talking about artificial intelligence, bringing that more to the reality as we have today, what have you seen? What are the cases that you have been seeing in the market worldwide of retailers using AI, leveraging AI to empower their online store and operation?
You know, I'm sure you see this too, Alex. We don't have a single enterprise retail or consumer brand customer not experimenting with Gen AI today. Everybody's trying to learn. But some of the early successes, you can sort of separate into two buckets. There's operational and there's customer facing. And the customer facing stuff is the ones that tend to get the most excitement because they're kind of cool, right? I'll give you an example. I know Brazilians love to barbecue, right? Barbecue is a religion in this country. And if you've ever heard of Traeger grills, Traeger is the Ferrari of grills. It's the best grill in the world. And so Traeger uses AWS generative AI in their call center because it's, really good barbecue is about expertise. It's about really understanding how do you use the grill, the power of the grill. And so in their call center, they use a Gen AI-powered system based on Amazon Q. It's a Amazon AWS Gen AI solution, so that when a customer calls in and asks a question, it could be about a very obscure recipe or some strange utilization of how do I do this with a yam or with a potato or some such question. We don't expect the Traeger grill call center to be an expert on every utilization of this massive grill. Instead, they use this system to be able to understand options and then to deliver those options to the customer. And increasingly, Alex, the consumer will actually just talk to the Gen AI directly. There won't even be anyone in between. So it's a way of unlocking great expertise and insight that consumers can consume. It's going to be just as big a revolution as when we first started using web search and being able to just search the web. Now we're going to be able to, with natural language, get the expertise from anybody on demand. The other example is operational, right? How can we make our own operations better? We work very closely with Adidas, which has worldwide operations, very complex, a little bit hard to keep track of everything that's going on. Adidas engineers particularly are building solutions all over the world. They use generative AI from Amazon to search and discover what other engineering teams are doing, finding best practices and inspiration so that the best engineering expertise for Adidas anywhere in the world is available to everyone in the world. It's an amazing operational achievement that makes them a better company. So generally we see two buckets, customer facing and operational facing, but they're both amazing.
Great. I have three other examples of clients that I've been working with that are using AI for different, totally different scenarios. One that I like very much is the one that uses for this operational challenge. they built, they've added AI to their inventory allocation system. So basically, when a customer is buying on their store online, they have multiple warehouses and they are also shipping from store. Usually, the order allocation is done, send this order to the closest place of the customer that has more inventory available. Right. So if you have 20 items available here and 5 items available here, it's usually going to allocate the order to where you have 20 items available. But on the other hand, they saw that, for example, where you have the 20 items available is because you had more turnover of products there. So you were allocating an order to a place that those 20 items were going to go out of stock faster than the 5 items on the other side. So with the AI intelligence, they started to route the order to the right place where they could have more efficiency in the inventory allocation.
Amazing. And you know, that's a good example of the power of AI. When AI gives you the counterintuitive result, the thing you wouldn't have discovered yourself, right? Instead of assuming there's 20 items there and saying, oh, they don't need anything, AI determined that that actually is where you should route it, which is not what you would have thought of on yourself, yes?
That's it. And again, going to the other side of the operation, talking about marketing, another client that I've been working together have improved the ROI and the performance of the ads campaign by using AI to generate thousands of ads automatically, custom ads. So they were doing, on one hand, because of the capacity of designers, etc., they were doing just a small amount of custom ads before the use of AI. And with that, they had more conversion in whatever they were like really customizing, but less conversion in the generic pieces. Right now, with the use of AI, they are customizing thousands of ads in like a couple of seconds or minutes and serving those ads with much more performance and ROI in their marketing campaigns.
That's a tremendous example. And you know what that really highlights? Sometimes when you talk to your employees or the people in your company about AI, they get worried. Is this going to take my job? Is this going to make me redundant? But it's exactly the opposite. This example would have been incredibly boring and dull work to hand crank. Instead, you can automatically create thousands of examples, and this liberates, it frees the marketing and advertising people to do creative work, to do mind work, and not the rote work. So this is a very important message for your own organizations, that generative AI, machine learning, is not intended to replace the expertise and the innovation, but to rather to liberate the creativity of people with these tools.
Yeah, for sure. Again, they are not replacing designers. They're just empowering those designers.
Right.
That's the best. And the last example that I like to mention, we have a client, including with a partner that it's here with us, that has been improving their PDPs, their product pages, mainly the content. So what they did is that they have a crawler that looks at their page and understand what can be improved, talking about SEO, about search engine optimization. So it retrofeeds all the catalog information, so it adjusts the catalog information for 100,000, 200,000 SKUs,
right.
Improving description, improving meta tags, meta title, the name, and everything that is exposed in the PDP page to improve the SEO, and with that increase organic traffic. This client, in only 2 months, they were able to increase in 60% the organic traffic just by like turning on this AI engine that was enriching and improving the content of the catalog in their website.
Amazing. And I'm so happy that you called out that last bit, that when you think about this, it's about the business outcome. It's not about it being a shiny new toy. You actually change business outcomes, like a 60% improvement. That's amazing. And so those are the kind of outcomes you should look for. But if you don't mind me just throwing a little bit of cold water on the conversation, there's one thing I want to share that Amazon and AWS believes very fervently, that it's very important at this moment, at the earliest stages of the game, to remember that we are stewards of very sensitive information for our customers. And so this is the moment to start establishing some tenets and principles and guidelines around security and governance and privacy. Put those guardrails in place. You should do it, first of all, because you are, from a moral obligation standpoint, the stewards of your customers' information. But it's also good business. I think what you're going to see is that the companies that earn and retain the trust of customers over time are the ones that will actually grow the fastest in this new world. And so I really do urge everyone, as you start experimenting, start thinking now about data standards, privacy, governance, and ensuring that you're developing responsible and safe generative AI. It's sort of like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Do it early and do it at an organizational level, and I think you'll find that it will allow you to innovate even faster, not thinking about it later.
No, for sure. You can never disregard security and data privacy when doing that, because yes, there are some complexities that comes with the use of AI that we need to figure out. And talking about data, I think again, we're talking about the use of AI, but AI doesn't work without data.
Right. I mean, the analogy might be incredibly strained, but data is the new oil. It is the fuel to engine, and it is a garbage in, garbage out world. If you haven't really gotten confident about the blocking and tackling, the very basics of data management, everything else is going to fail and fail miserably. You may come up with the right answer to the wrong problems. And so, this is a good time to take a look. Do you have a single source of truth? Are you really operating from a shared source of truth across your enterprise? And there's this fire hose of new kinds of data, unstructured data, coming from social media or images or voice, that generative AI can turn into unbelievable outcomes, right? We like to say that today we are data rich but information poor. There's a lot of new sources of data, but you have to organize that data and make it available to your AI to get any use out of it. So don't lose sight of the fact that, you have to sometimes eat your vegetables first. You sometimes have to do like the basic data governance, but getting that right in the first place is a necessary condition for success in the long run.
And you touched two good points. One is the data organization, and we can talk about data warehouses or data lakes like Redshift as one of the solutions. I have been talking with many retailers, mostly here in Latin America, that are huge and have no strategy on how to organize their big data. They are still using relational databases to do that, and eventually plugging some BI tools on top of it. And again, it's not the best way to do that. So they need to clearly have a strategy to build this data lake and to structure and organize this data lake, this data warehouse with Redshift, with other solutions that we have in the market, whatever, in order to leverage that for analytics, BI, and AI as well, right?
So, this is a practical problem. We've done some research at AWS that indicates, on average, an enterprise retailer has customer data in 16 different places, 16 different silos. We talk about serving the customer. Well, we're serving 1/16 of the customer, a slice of the time. We have to unify that. But when you use the cloud to bring all of that information together in, let's say, a data lake, really cool things happen. We did a survey of 100 AWS customers to ask what kind of benefits they're getting from various technologies. And consolidation of information in the cloud led to a 35% increase on average in inventory accuracy. They knew things about the inventory because they were working from a single source of truth. Imagine the incredible business implications of having that much of an improvement of knowing where your inventory is at all times. These are the kind of things that can happen, but they have to start with getting that data in the single source of truth in the right place at the right time.
No, that's great. I wish we had more time and
Always.
a beer here to continue this conversation. I would be happy to explore more. I assume that you are going to be at the AWS booth or your peers are going to be there in case anyone has any additional question or want to understand a little bit more about how AWS can help there in their businesses. But thank you very much, Ravi, for being here. Thank you very much, you all, for the time.
Thank you.